What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with my 2024 predictions for the upcoming 2024 college football season. The Nebraska Cornhuskers are up next. Nebraska coming off a 5-7 season last year in 2023 and Matt Rule's first year as the head coach. So coming up just short of a bowl game. My thoughts on this team for 2024. I think Nebraska is going to be pretty good this year. You look at the roster, the offensive side of the football, plenty of experience coming back there on the offense. And then defensively, they should be pretty good as well. So this is a veteran Nebraska team. I think they have the third most returning production coming back in the country, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe they can make it to a bowl game, but they just got to win those close games like they lost to, for the last 3 years now. So let's now get to the schedule here for 2024. This is the schedule here for Nebraska. Again, they were 5-7 last year in 2023. So let's go game by game now and give you a record prediction here for the Nebraska Cornhuskers for 2024. They start things off with UTEP here on August 31st. I think Nebraska wins this one pretty easily. They should be able to start out 1-0 fairly easily as well. So I think Nebraska probably scores maybe over 30 points in that game against UTEP. They win that one fairly easily. So I got Nebraska starting out 1-0, and there's that big game at home against Colorado here on September 7th. Last year, of course, Nebraska lost to Colorado, on the road and everything. So this is like a revenge game here for Nebraska. I think Colorado's going to be pretty good this year. You look at both teams here in this matchup. I think both of these teams are pretty even. Nebraska, again, has more returning production coming back, though, than Colorado does. But I think this is going to be a really competitive game. It's definitely going to be a lot closer than it was from last year. Colorado definitely was the better team, and Nebraska just didn't really play that well. So I think Nebraska will play pretty well in this game. They are definitely going to be fired up for this one. It's like a revenge game here for the Cornhuskers. So that being said, I think Nebraska comes out really fired up. It's probably going to be a low-scoring type game, but I think Nebraska playing at home. This is a pretty even matchup, so I'm going to go with Nebraska here to knock off Colorado, and I think they get revenge on the Buffaloes from last year's game as well. So I got Nebraska improving to 2-0 right after that win over Colorado, and then they take care of business against Northern Iowa here on September 14th. So I got Nebraska starting out 3-0, and then they open up Big Ten play here against Illinois here on September 21st. Not really that high on Illinois. I don't really think this team is going to be all that good. They do have a lot of question marks, so I think Nebraska probably wins this one fairly easily. So I think the Cornhuskers improved to 4-0 with a win over Illinois, and then after that, they go on the road to play Purdue here on September 28th. This is definitely kind of like a trap game for Nebraska. I don't think Purdue is going to be all that great this year. Second-year head coach, I don't think they're going to be really that terrible. Maybe they're more competitive than they were from last year in all their games, but Nebraska definitely the more experienced team here, and they're definitely the more talented team as well. So I think Nebraska goes on the road here and beats Purdue here on September 28th, and I got Nebraska now improving to 5-0. Next game, they'll play at home against Rutgers here on October 5th. I think this is going to be a pretty competitive game. I think Rutgers are going to have a really good defense. They do have a good amount of production coming back as well this year, and they were a big surprise last year more than Nebraska was, but Nebraska is playing at home in this one. I do expect a really good dogfight here from the Rutgers in this one, but Nebraska definitely the more experienced team and definitely the more talented team as well. So I'm going to go with Nebraska here to knock off Rutgers in a low-scoring type game and a close low-scoring type game as well. So that puts Nebraska's record here at 6-0 going into the bye week. They play Indiana here on the road on October 19 coming out of the bye week. An Indiana team that I think is going to be a little bit better this year, kind of compared to the last couple years. They brought in some players from the transfer portal. They do have a really good coach that really looks like the future is going to be really bright for him. So I think this is going to be a really competitive game. You got Ohio State the next week here for Nebraska. They're coming in undefeated here. You like to have that bye week right before playing, Ohio State and everything, just to get really extra time to prepare for the Buckeyes and everything. But maybe they're overlooking Indiana just a little bit. I think that's what, it's going to happen here. I think Nebraska is definitely going to overlook Indiana here in this game. And it's definitely one of those games where Nebraska could slip up in, and that's what I'm going to go with here. I think Indiana, I know they have a first-year head coach and everything, and Nebraska definitely has the more experienced roster and everything, but I'm going to go with the upset here. I think Indiana upsets Nebraska here. Again, it's just one of those games where I think Nebraska definitely overlooks Indiana from the next week and everything, and they just look overhead to Ohio State the next week. So I think Nebraska loses their first game here of the season on the road at Indiana, and that puts their record now here at 6-1. Then they play on the road here at Ohio State the next week on October 26th. So like I said, they definitely overlooked Indiana from last week. I don't think Nebraska will be ready for this one. I think the Buckeyes are definitely going to be more talented than Nebraska this year, even though Nebraska has a veteran roster and everything. But I think Ohio State definitely is the more talented team. This Ohio State team is going to be really dangerous with Chip Kelly, of course, at offensive coordinator. And I think they're going to be wearing down this Nebraska team on both sides of the football. So I think Ohio State will win this one fairly easily. I also think that Nebraska is definitely not on the Ohio State's level here. So I think Nebraska loses their second game here of the season, and they lose back-to-back road games here against Indiana and Ohio State. So that puts their record now here at 6-2. And then after that, they'll play at home against UCLA here on November 2nd. UCLA going with a coaching change and everything. Deshaun Foster now taking over down there. I don't really think this game is going to be all that close. I think Nebraska, after back-to-back losses both on the road, I think they'll definitely be fired up for this one. They are desperate for a win here to get back momentum going into the Big Ten the rest of the way. So I think Nebraska definitely wins this one fairly easily against UCLA. I don't think UCLA is going to be a horrible team. It's just because of the first-year head coach. Don't know how good this team is going to be. So I think Nebraska wins that one, and that puts their record now here at 7-2. They get their second bye week here before playing on the road here at USC on November 16th. I done my USC prediction video from last week, and I did choose the Trojans to win this game. USC is going to have a pretty explosive offense. The defense might have some concerns, so maybe Nebraska probably runs the football here in this game, but playing on the road, that's a very tough place to play on the road there at USC. So with that being said, I think this is a close game. I'm going to go with the Trojans here. Maybe this game turns into a shootout, but I do trust USC to probably win in shootouts. A turnover can probably change the difference, and maybe like a last-second touchdown could probably change the difference as well. But I'm going to go with USC here to knock off Nebraska. It might be one of those upset alert type games as well. Maybe Nebraska is probably ranked in the top 25 by this point. So I'm going to go with USC there to pull off the upset. So that puts their record now here at 7-3. And then after that, they'll play at home against Wisconsin here on November 23rd. I done my Wisconsin video a couple weeks ago, and I did choose Nebraska to win this game. And like I said, I think this game is going to be a really big dogfight. It's going to be a really competitive game, probably a low-scoring type game. You got two second-year head coaches going at it here with Luke Fickell of Wisconsin, and then you got Matt Rule of Nebraska. So this will be a very close game. It's going to be a low-scoring type game. But I think Nebraska definitely playing at home field advantage will be the difference here. I'm going to go with the Cornhuskers to knock off Wisconsin here on November 23rd, and that puts their record now here at 8-3. And then the final game of the season will be on a Friday night. It will be on the road here at Iowa on November 29th. I've already done my Iowa prediction video, and I did choose the Hawkeyes to win this one as well. I think both of these teams are pretty even. You look at Iowa's roster and everything, they're going to be a very talented roster as well, but the offense is what I'm concerned about here for the Hawkeyes. So this game might be a really low-scoring game. It could be one of those like 6-3 type ball games. And maybe even Nebraska gets really held scoreless in this game. But, Nebraska definitely has more experience going into this game, but it is on the road here on a Friday night. It's definitely one of those like slip-up games, at the end of the year here for the Cornhuskers. But, Iowa definitely playing at home. It's kind of hard to go against them here in this one. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen here in this one. But I'm going to go with Iowa here because they're playing at home. So I think Iowa does win here in the final game of the regular season on a Friday night here on November 29th. So I got Nebraska losing their final game here of the regular season. So I got Nebraska finishing with a record of 8-4 here for 2024. Definitely a more better season kind of compared to last year. Again, if Nebraska can definitely win those close games this year, they're definitely going to be a really good team. But if they don't win those close games, it could be another really tough season here for Nebraska, and they could probably go, and they can probably miss out on the bowl game once again. So I think Nebraska, if they go 5-7 again, that would definitely be a disappointment. But if they can make it to a bowl game, either go 6-6 or 7-5, maybe 8-4 as well, they could probably go 9-3 as well. I mean, if they can beat Indiana on the road and then probably USC, this team could probably go 10-2. But I don't really see them doing that. 10-2 definitely would be like a lot higher here for this Nebraska team. But I think I can definitely see them going 9-3, 8-4, 7-5, 6-6. 5-7 if they were to lose those close games. But 8-4 is my prediction here for Nebraska for 2024. So let me guys know what you think about this Nebraska team down in the comments below. What do you think their record will be for 2024? Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.